Do you ever have trouble making decisions? Well, you need to check this video out because we're going to learn how your brain works and sometimes how it gets stuck in the decision-making process. Hi, I'm Brett, your favorite shrink, and welcome back. Welcome back to another My 5 Minds. Today we're going to look at decision making, and we're going to really get into the 5 minds looking at what we call systems or systemology with a P. And in systems, what we're looking at is how the brain works in a system. Decisions. You know, every part of your brain has a valuable function. It's a job. And sometimes you get so good at one job, you can't move it through to the rest of your brain to get the rest of your brain to do the rest of its job. And that's where we get stuck in making decisions. So let's look at some decisions and see if we can help you see where you get stuck sometimes. Now, I don't know if you've heard yet, but I am looking at starting a podcast. And I'm looking at starting it with my cohort, my colleague over at Addo, Soraya. Soraya is our yoga instructor, and I think she would just be awesome, right? A little psych, a little spirit psych. It's all going to be good. But anyway, we've been thinking about how to name it, what to name it. And you kind of got to go through a decision process to do it. Well, I'm going to use that as an example, and I'm going to also use maybe a generic example of buying a car as well. So you can kind of see where it is you get stuck. Now, let's start with the part where we get stuck at. And that comes with one of the 4 minds we get stuck in. The first mind that we always like to talk about is Leo, your left neocortex. Leo is your analytical brain. He loves to think, analyze, process stuff. Now, sometimes you can overprocess. Have you ever heard of the paralysis of analysis? That's what happens. We overanalyze something. We're thinking about it, and we just never get out of that thinking phase. We're just stuck in phase 1, where we're just trying to think about all the options, think about the variables, think about the process, and we get stuck. We never do anything with it because we're overwhelmed with all there is to think about. In making a decision about our podcast, I have a list of 25 different names. Well, probably a list of 50 different names. 25 of which are already taken, can't use those, domains already used. But we got about 25 names we're looking through. It's a lot of names. And I could just keep going. But I got to stop because I don't want to get in a paralysis of analysis. Again, going back to looking at buying a car. What would happen if I just looked at every car and every possibility of every car and every color of every car there ever was? I could get stuck there forever. That's the paralysis of analysis. The second thing that we can get stuck in is over in our right neocortex, Rio. Rio's your creative brain. Rio's the visualizer. Rio creates the images and dwells on some of the intake, some of the input that Leo is giving him. Now, what can go wrong in the decision-making process there is that Leo gets stuck. He gets stuck focusing on, dwelling on the wrong things. His job, like I said a minute ago, is to take some of the information, dwell on it, sit on it, look at it. Just kind of stand back and see what that would all look like. But sometimes he grabs the wrong information. Leo analyzes things, good and bad. And sometimes Rio can grab the bad information coming out of Leo and dwell on that. Ooh, what if? I was doing that in my own name process. I was coming up with all these names. And I was thinking, oh, what if none of them work? What if we can't find a good name? And I was dwelling on what ifs in terms of the negative what ifs and getting stuck. Could you see how the same thing could happen if you're going to buy a car? What if I can't afford it? What if we get in the car and it doesn't, it's a lemon or something goes wrong with it? We could get stuck on focusing on the wrong things. That's where we got to be careful of with Rio. Now, Emma. Emma is your emotional mind. Where do we get stuck in decision making with Emma? Well, Emma's in charge of feelings, so oftentimes we can get flooded with feelings. And just like the old days, when you would flood your car with too much gas, the car wouldn't start. And the same thing happens with you. If you get flooded with so much emotion, so much feeling, it'll paralyze you. Because what will happen is that you'll go into collapse. And when you go into a collapse mode, you get stuck, right? You can't go anywhere. The energy is turned inward and not outward into action or behaviors. Now, last one we're going to talk about is B. B is your brain stem, or what we call your body mind. And B's the action part of you. B takes action. And B also automates behavior. All your programs are running out of your base brain. So sometimes what happens is that we can program in base behaviors. For example, it's true, some people can just be really conservative. And because that's this kind of their nature, it's like they're always riding the brake on the car. And everything they do, they just kind of ride the brake all the time. Kind of in a mild fight or flight or freeze response. And that's B. So they're always kind of in this not sure. So it takes a lot of energy to get them out, because they're always riding the brakes. It takes them a lot of extra energy to get people like that moving. And that's also where the decision process can get stuck. So I can get in my head, I can come up with all these wonderful ideas, I can get excited about these ideas. But if my natural character is to kind of shut down, to put on the brake, as it were, I have a ton of good ideas, but nothing ever happens. You ever had that happen? Well, that's because of your base brain. That's the body mind. Now, let's look at all of these and see if we can see how to move forward, how to make better decisions. Well, the first thing you always have to do, and this is like pretty much my always for everything, but when we're learning systems, when we're working with your own internal systems, the first thing you need to do is you need to become conscious. You need to become conscious of the systems that are running. So the steps we just walk through by looking at these different parts of you and how they can each get stuck in different ways is number one. You got to become aware of you. And you got to become aware of where you're getting stuck, because that's going to help give you answers on what you need to do to get moving. Now, once we're aware, once we're in our highest thinking brain, which is our conscious mind, I like to call her Connie consciousness, right? Once we're up in Connie and we're aware of what's going on, then we can begin to take control of this process. First thing you have to do, if you're going to make good decisions, the first thing you have to do is you have to evaluate the information. However, I'm going to suggest you limit it. You limit it in both time and content. Pick your 5 favorite cars and work from there. Don't look at all the cars in the world and all the cars on the planet, because you're going to get too much information. Pick 5, pick 3, pick 2, and begin to work from that limited resource. Second tip I want to give you when you're working with Leo: limit the time. Tell yourself, I'm going to give myself a week. I'm going to give myself a day. I'm going to give myself a limited amount of time where I'm going to come up with some ideas. And then after that, I'm going to start moving on. But I don't want to be stuck thinking about this forever. So limited time, limited information I'm going to look at. we want to look at Rio and help Rio move through his process. So we want to make sure that Rio is focusing on the right things. Rio is in charge of your focalizer. We'll talk about that one day, but we're not yet. But anyway, Rio is in focus on your focalizer, and it's really important because he's going to take the information like we talked about, and he's going to dwell. We got to make sure he's dwelling on the right things. He's dwelling on, what would it be like to have a van? Okay, I could get everybody in. We could go on trips. Okay, that could work. I like that. What would it be like to have maybe more of a coupe, more of a small sedan? Okay, what would that be like? A little tighter, better on gas though, and easier to park, And I began to just allow myself to focus on what would that be like. And I'm just going to sit on that. Sit on those thoughts, sit on those pictures, sit on those images. Because what that does as you begin to visualize these different options is it activates your emotional mind, Emma. Emma doesn't respond to the words of Leo. Emma does respond to the pictures of Rio. And so Emma's going to be reacting to the pictures. As you hold these different images in your mind, you're going to feel different emotional reactions. Now this is really important because, again, Leo, your thinking mind, doesn't have a way to evaluate things. He doesn't have an ability to prioritize things. He looks at things as they are, but doesn't put a value on it. This is better than that. Because if he did, it would create bias. Where values come from, oh, I want this. Oh, I don't want that. Where values come from, that comes from your emotional mind. That's super important. So as you're picturing it, you're going to feel a charge. You're going to feel a charge in one direction or another direction. You're going to feel excited or you're going to feel shut down. Pay attention to how that energy is moving with you, because those are all going to be important clues to telling you what you feel good about, what you don't. And again, be careful of the flooding, be careful of the collapse that can happen. Too much energy, even positive energy, can collapse you. It happens to me all the time. I get too excited about something and then I'm like, I can't do this. And then I shut down. So keep your energy cool. The feeling you want to be looking for as you're making a decision, peace. I want to feel peace about this. I want to feel calm about this. I want to feel good about this. So keep an eye on that. Flow is what we're looking for. Now, with B, your base brain, your body, mind, with B, you got to set up action. He's not a guy of words. B isn't somebody that you can talk to or you can even willpower your way through. Once you come up with something that you feel good about, begin to take small steps. Begin to take baby steps of, okay, I'm going to go down to this dealership and I'm going to look at this car. Make sure you set up small steps that are achievable and doable and schedule them. Don't just leave them up in the air, because B doesn't understand whenever. B understands activity. B understands schedule. B understands structure. And he runs off of those programs. So make sure that you set something up and you say, hey, Tuesday, we're going to go down to this dealership and we're going to look at these 3 different kind of cars and just see what we see. And then again, I want to watch Emma. How is she feeling? Does she feel peace about this? Or does she feel collapse? Keep an eye on that. Because again, that's how you're going to evaluate what feels true, what feels wrong. All right. Again, I hope that was hopeful. I hope that was useful for you. And if you want to learn more, if you want to learn more about patterning, about systems, about how your brain works in the systemology that we're talking about, subscribe to us. Make sure you check out our other videos. If you like this one, like this one. Again, I am Brett, your favorite shrink, and you've been watching My 5 Minds. Take care.